our live stream accompanying the NUS virtual open house. Thanks for already joining. We probably wait for 2 or 3 more minutes for others to join to kind of start more or less on time. So hang on 2 more minutes and then we go through your questions and hopefully I can give you good answers. So in the meantime, don't forget to join the Discord session to ask your questions there, and you will already get good answers there. Okay, let's give it 1 more minute and then we start. Okay, I think we are ready. So again, welcome to everybody who joined this live stream that accompanies the NUS Open House 2025. Again, welcome. And before we start, a quick introduction from my side, so who we're talking to. So my name is Chris. I'm senior lecturer at the School of Computing. I'm with NUS almost 11 years now in May, and the first 6 years as a researcher, and for the last 5+ years as a teacher. So I'm a lecturer, and I teach both undergraduate courses and graduate courses in the areas of natural language processing, text mining, data analytics, and database systems. So if you join School of Computing, very likely we will see each other at least in one of those courses. But I'm also currently the assistant dean for our Office of Communications at the School of Computing, and in this capacity, I'm here with you to answer your questions you have posted so far on Discord. And so the whole purpose of this live stream is essentially to go through some of your questions that you posted on Discord, and you can still post there, so make use of this. That my colleagues that are already with you since 9:30 or so have kind of highlighted and flagged to say, okay, these are really good questions that are relevant for many other people, and kind of go through this question again, and also maybe gives a little bit of my spin to the questions. What I won't answer here specifically is kind of question about exact deadlines, required documents, all these nitty-gritty logistic details that comes with the admission, because all these details, A, I don't know all these details, and B, they're very well documented on the NUS website or the School of Computing website. So always check for those details on those websites. So that being said, I think we should get started. And as I said, so some of my colleagues that are already with you since the morning have flagged some of the questions, and I also choose some of those that I found particularly interesting, where I have my own opinion, and I think can be relevant for many of you. So one of the first questions is that, I picked, do I need any background in programming? So this is a question that is very popular, that we get all the time. It's a very good question. In fact, I had the same question when I decided studying computer science, and luckily I did. And the short answer is no. So we don't assume any kind of background in any kind of programming languages or programming and coding or whatever you want to call it. So when you come to NUS Computing, you will basically, everybody starts from scratch, right? We ensure level playing field. We say don't make any assumptions, but typically the first 1 or 2 years are kind of the time for to lay the groundwork to have the foundations, right? And it's also important to know what we mean by programming. So when we talk about programming, it's not writing something in a programming language per se. It's not about, okay, I can write Python, I can write C, I can write Julia, whatever your program of choice is. But programming is more about and how we focus on computational thinking, right? And maybe to clarify what I mean by computational thinking is taking a problem, because we want to solve problems, take a problem and then breaking it down into sub-problems and coming up with very well-defined steps how to solve the sub-problems and then combining these two solutions to bigger problems. So this is this computational thinking. And which programming language you then use to kind of verbalize your computational thinking, this is almost doesn't matter, right? So it's really about understanding programming, understanding computational thinking. That being said, if you have any kind of experience in programming, you went through some tutorials, or maybe this is already your hobby, obviously it cannot hurt, right? So if it's already something you do, then you might have a head start. At least you know what to kind of expect. But you don't have any disadvantage if you don't have a background in programming. Maybe just to add one comment again from my side. If you really have never touched a programming language in your life, I would recommend do so in terms of go through some tutorial, go through some online courses. And it's not about learning the programming language. It's not about learning programming per se and be prepared. It's more like to get a sense what to expect when you start computing. Right? Just to see for yourself, hey, this is something I like, this is something I enjoy, this is something I consider doing on a regular basis. Right? And there are many kind of sources. You find good tutorials on YouTube, on Coursera, free courses. There's Khan Academy. So there are many kind of cases where you can kind of set some, at least some, get your feet wet. Right? It's not about being expert after a tutorial. It's just to get a sense what it's all about. Okay. So I hope this clarifies the thing. No requirements regarding programming experience. Okay, another question that seems to be quite popular. Yeah. Are there opportunities for overseas internships? Yes, there are. So, first of all, internships are a required part of your degree. Right? So everybody has to do some internships. Okay, I will probably come to some exceptions. But on the other hand, there are some ways to go overseas for internships, and this is called the NUS Overseas Colleges, or NOC. And this NOC program is, we have partner locations quite across all the world, so several in the US, in Europe, in South America, but also in Southeast Asia, and in China. So we have many locations, I think 20 to 30 locations, where we have kind of partner companies and partner universities. And how this roughly works is that you apply for an NOC internship, right? So there's an application process. So not everybody can take this. And once you get accepted, basically you go overseas, and I think it's typically at least 1 year, maybe longer. But when you're there, you're an intern in a startup, right? So all these internships are in startups. And in parallel, you also have courses at universities that basically are partners of this program. And these courses are mainly in the area of entrepreneurial topics, right? It's all about the startup and building something new from scratch. So actually here I have a list of some locations. So there's Silicon Valley, New York, Toronto in Canada. We have Munich in Germany, Paris, France, London, England. Of course, China, we have Shanghai and Beijing, as I said, I think in Vietnam and Thailand, at least Vietnam, I'm pretty sure we also have locations, and also in South Africa. So yes, there is the opportunity for overseas internships, but there is an application process. To be fair, I don't know the exact criteria, but presumably there is some kind of minimum grade involved as well. Okay, let's go to another question that has been asked. What is the difference between computer engineering at SOC, School of Computing, and CDE? So CDE is the College of Design and Engineering. Again, simple answer, they are the same. Right? So this computer engineering is a joint program offered by both schools, School of Computing and College of Design and Engineering, which basically means that you take the same courses. And for all intents and purposes, the only difference that you face is which faculty you call your home faculty. Right? Do you want to be an SOC student, or do you want to be a CE student? Otherwise, from the degree requirements, they're exactly the same. So pretty straightforward answer. Okay. Oh, this is an interesting question. How does a typical day for a student look like? And that's a kind of an open-ended question, so let me try to give you some kind of answer. Because to some extent, it's very much up to you. Right? This is no longer school, this is university, so this means that your kind of own motivation now weighs much more. Right? Of course, you have your fixed classes, right? You have lectures, you have tutorials, you have lab session, you have recitation sessions, whatever the modules or the courses are offering. And these are fixed, right? There's a timetable and you're expected to go there. So there is not much flexibility. But around that, there is. So how this usually works is that each course that is offered is assigned a certain amount of hours that we expect students to work on this course. And this means that is roughly 1/3 to 1/2 is your fixed classes, right? You go to the lectures and tutorials. But then there's always something that we call preparation hours, right? Where we simply expect, you go through or you recap the lecture materials that you did in the previous week. This includes any kind of working on your assignments, right? This kind of preparation work. And then many courses also have project work. This also means that, for example, for each course, 3 hours per week is allocated to project work. How you use these 3 hours is completely up to you. This is how it's officially allocated. That's okay, 3 hours project work. And project work simply means is that many courses have an assessment component, not just exams and take-home assignments, but also group projects. Right? Where basically students of 3 or 4, so with your friends, you can form a team in a course, and you have some kind of project that goes throughout at least half of the semester. And this is part of the assessment of this course. And typically, most normal courses have a time allocated from 8 to 10 hours per week. As I mentioned, 1/3 to 1/2 is your fixed timetable classes, and the other half is your preparation work and project work with your team members, for example. But how you organize it and when you do this, and if you skip 1 or 2 weeks because you want to travel, kind of up to you, right? So we try to treat you as an adult, but obviously you want to at least that you really come to your classes. This is quite important to us. But apart from that, you're at a university, you are on your own, so you are your own boss. Okay, maybe let's also cover this question because it's quite related. What is the typical workload per semester? Right? Because as I just mentioned, typical course is allocated 8 to 10 hours. I think most are 10 hours. And the typical workload that we expect from students are 50 hours. So by default, most students take 4 to 5 courses per semester. This is the classic normal workload. Again, fixed classes, preparation work, and project work, maybe some other components, but these are the main 3 ones. In principle, you can what is called overloading. So overloading means that you take more courses compared to the default workload of 4 to 5 classes that kind of sum up to 50 hours. So this is possible, but again, I think you have to apply for it because you have to fulfill some certain criteria and at least some minimum GPA. Right? Some minimum marks that you have to achieve. So not everybody can overload. So you have to apply for this. But in principle, this is possible. And of course, overloading means that potentially you can speed up your time at university, you can free up for other semesters if you have other kind of plans. So this is possible, but by default, most students take 4 or typically 5 courses per semester to get around 50 hours of workload. Okay, here a couple of questions about admission itself. Okay, let's start with, does the admission to NUS computing require any exams or interviews? There are 2 parts to this question. So for the general admission process, no. right? You apply to NUS. You say, okay, NUS computing is my favorite degree. Maybe you specify second favorites. I think you can specify multiple. What's your favorite? But there's no interview involved. However, there are what is called aptitude-based admission process. And how this roughly works on a high level, when you apply to NUS, your admission goes to NUS admissions office, and there are basically three initial outcomes. One is a clear accept, so you just get an offer. Obviously, there can be a reject for one reason or another, but there's also the third bucket. The third bucket is kind of the submissions, where NUS admission says, yeah, this application looks pretty good, but it doesn't quite make the cut based on the official requirements, which is, to some extent, the marks, right? And this bucket, so these admissions, where we say, okay, it doesn't quite make the cut, but we still think this could be a strong application, those get sent to us in terms of they get sent to the school, and then they go to this aptitude-based admission or ABA process. And this process does involve interviews. So how this typically works is that if you get kind of invited to these interviews, that typically you get, I think, 30 minutes most of the time are the interviews, and there you have some kind of face-to-face session, typically via Zoom. So you would be talking, for example, to me. So I do ABA interviews with some colleague, and there is kind of you have your 30 minutes to shine to convince us, hey, actually, yes, you are a good student. And the follow-up question actually details on this, because the question is, how should I prepare for an ABA interview? Yeah, that's a very good question. So as I mentioned, when you get invited to this ABA process, aptitude-based admission, this already means you are a good student, right? Your marks are pretty good, maybe not quite making the cut, but you're a good student, right? So this interview is not about what you have learned in school, right? This aptitude-based admission is all about you trying to convince us that you are the right fit for NUS computing, right? This is your time to shine. And what this basically means is you can present or talk about yourself and advertise yourself with anything that you think makes you stand out, makes you special, beyond just good grades. Okay? And this can really be anything in some sense, right? So we look for students that have certain passions in any kind of field. And this doesn't have to be about computer science either. Right? Obviously, if you say you represented your school in the mathematics Olympiad, in chemistry Olympiad, on a national, even international level, that's a good thing. But even, for example, if you do voluntary work for many, many years, or you play in an orchestra on a high level for many, many years, so anything that kind of you feel makes you stand out, right? Beyond just your grades and beyond just computer science topics. So what we're looking for is, interesting students where we think, this is somebody we want to have at School of Computing, because we also think they can contribute to our student life here. For example, say you have been the president or member of some school club for many years, right? Maybe this is somebody who will be a member of our school clubs, right? We have many kind of students clubs, and obviously we want to enrich them with good students. All these kind of things that you show passion and interest and kind of these long-term commitments to something that's really close to your heart, this really can be anything. Maybe related, because some people ask, does it help if I took any kind of online courses with respect to computer science? I took some online class. Can't hurt, of course, but it's not necessarily the kind of long-term commitment or long-term interest that we're looking for. Right? If you come to the interview and say, last week I took this online course, it's fine, but this is not necessarily long-term commitment that really makes you stand out. As I mentioned, since I directly do these ABA interviews myself with a colleague, so most of the time I actually interview serviceman students, applicants, because they only have time on weekends. Maybe from my side, what I'm looking for. So again, these interviews are not technical. It's not a job interview. You don't get a task, but here solve this, right? It's really kind of self-advertising. And very basic things that I look for, I want to see, okay, here is somebody who knows what he wants, he has some kind of clear goals in life, at least for the next 5-6 years, and can clearly voice how does coming and studying and NUS computing help with these goals, right? Basically, be prepared from the view, know what you're looking for, indicate or kind of show us that you know what NUS computing is roughly be about. So I would always recommend look at our websites, look at the courses that we offer, maybe select some of the courses that you're really interested in, explain us why and how this relates with your career goals. Right? Essentially, be prepared, right? And kind of tell us what yourself, because we don't make a decision, right? We are just here to make a recommendation to the decision makers, right? You have to kind of advertise yourself and say, hey, yeah, we want this student. We know the marks are not making the cut, but we still want this student. So yeah, just prepare and know what you want to do at NUS Computing. Okay, another question related to admission. How easy is this to get into computing, NUS Computing? Yeah, I mean, you probably know, you saw the kind of the criteria on our website. Admission to NUS Computing has become quite competitive, right? We call it a nice problem to have because we get a lot of applications, which is obviously very good. This means people that have an interest in computing, and probably not surprising with the whole idea of AI and all these big data, these kind of things, even blockchain and all these kind of things, all related to computer science. So it's very popular right now. But of course, and I mean, when I say it's a nice problem to have, because we consider ourselves very lucky in computing that we get these applications from very good students. Right? This is very nice for us. But of course, we cannot accept everybody, right? Because purely facility-wise, manpower-wise, and we obviously want to ensure that the standard of our teaching remains high, right? So this requires, there must be a cut of how many people we can accept at NUS Computing. And I think typically for the last 1 or 2 semesters, it's around 1,500, which is already very high, right? So we're really kind of hitting really, at least scraping and crossing the ceiling. So hence, yes, it is competitive, and it's not that easy to get in. Another question. Okay, this is also related. Are there specific selection criteria beyond basic requirement for admission? Well, I mean, it's kind of just to sum up. So from our side and also from NUS admission, so there is no single checklist, right? There is no single process where you just make some tick marks. If you fit all the tick marks, you can apply. So NUS in general tries to employ some kind of holistic view, right? Sure, grade matters, but it has to. It's not just about the grades, right? Holistic view means anything that, as mentioned, stands out, and this brings us again to this aptitude-based admission, right? This is kind of the third bucket: accepts, clear rejects, and then there is this, okay, they look interesting, they go to this aptitude-based admission. But there are no single fixed checklist that guarantees anything. Okay, let me check which are interesting questions. Okay, yeah, I like this one because again, this often comes up all the time in any outreach event. We get this all the time. Is it required to have maths in class 12? Or other question is there much math involved? Or what happens if I didn't have a good mark in math? Okay, if you apply, most likely you have a good grade in math. But yeah, is it required to have math in class 12? Short answer is yes. And the simple reason is, again, this might be stemming from the sometimes misconception that computer science is all about programming and coding, right? This is maybe how it comes across in the media. But under the hood, computer science, but also computer engineering, requires a strong foundation in mathematics. Right? It's not the same as studying mathematics, so it's not on the highest level. But under the hood, many kind of topics require really good foundation in different math areas. For example, the latest hype, AI, machine learning, LLMs. Under the hood, it's all about linear algebra, calculus, and statistics, probability theory. right? So now it has a nice name, AI, and if you just use it in practice, you probably don't see it, but if you really want to study the subject, if you want to become an expert in AI, then you have to have really a good understanding about linear algebra, calculus, and statistics, and other kind of topics, discrete mathematics, but of course, this will be all taught in our courses here. Let me add maybe a personal note on this. So as I mentioned, if you apply, most likely you have a good grade in math, so you don't have to be worried about it. But still, your like or dislike of math could be your own kind of gauge if you will like computing or not. Right? So if you, for example, have a strong dislike for math, any kind of math topics, maybe you won't like computing either. There's just no way around it. Right? It might not be your favorite subject, but if you really kind of hate math, maybe studying computer science will be a bit of a chore. Right? So this is kind of more like to gauge yourself. Right? But hence the requirement, yes, you have to take math. But it's also complete, as I mentioned, when you start at NUS computing as a first year, as I mentioned, the first 1 or 2 years are all about foundations, and this includes math classes. Right? And these math classes are then typically done by our colleagues from the math department, so you get these foundations. Right? So we teach them to you. I hope this answers this question. Let's switch things to, can NUS computing students receive scholarships or other financial aid? Again, yes. So there are different ways for scholarships and financial aid. So there are scholarships and bursaries on the NUS level, but there are also dedicated scholarships on the NUS computing level. So NUS computing has the NUS computing scholarship, but also there's this new AI talent scholarship. Right? So this just has been created. For this, I haven't even heard about it until last week, so I don't know exactly what the criteria is. But the short answer is yes, there are scholarships and other kind of form of financial aid that you are eligible for, you can apply for. And typically there's also an application process, and this process also requires typically interviews, because I also did some of the interviews. And the idea is similar. You have to tell us what makes you special, what makes you stand out. Why do you think you are the person that should get the scholarship? But yeah, for these kind of things, what exactly criteria, particularly on the NUS level, then always check the websites, right? Our websites, the NUS website, as well as the computing websites, contains all the details. You find everything there. Okay, jump to the next question. Let me check. Yes. Question is, are there research opportunities for undergraduate students? Short answer again, yes. So most of the time, when you come to for the undergraduate degree, so your 4 years by default, does not require you to take any kind of research-oriented parts of your degree. You can do everything by coursework, but you can research-oriented parts to get your degree. And there are kind of different ways to do it. So the most common one that people do is it's what is called a final year project. Right, this is 1 year, typically in your last year, 5 years, when year 4. That basically you work on a kind of research project on a smaller scale. How this usually works is that we as faculty, so including me, I just did it yesterday, I know something that I want to explore, some kind of topic, and I think, okay, yes, this topic is, I think, suitable for FYP, right? It's not big for PhD or master dissertation, no, but it's a little nice research project, and this would be an FYP. So this means I describe the project, I post it, and then you have the opportunity as a student to go to this website and say, okay, which kind of final year project topics are offered, can apply to it, which simply means you contact the faculty member, you will talk and you see, okay, yes, this is a good fit and I like to do the topic, and you then do this FYP for 1 year. And obviously this final year project counts for 12 units. This means on average you can replace 3 courses with this final year project, right? Because each course is on average 4 units and FYP is 12 units. So instead of doing 3 courses, you do other courses, and you find a project. But yeah, there are other kind of opportunities. There are also the Europe stands for Undergraduate Research Opportunity Program, similar as FIP, but on a bit smaller scale. This, I think it's just 8 units. I'm not even sure if it's 6 months or also 1 year. But again, this is a similar process that these topics get offered by faculty. You can browse them on the website, and then you can kind of contact the faculty and talk about if there's a good fit. And then once you agree, you start this to kind of work together on this smaller scale research project. Again, it's not master thesis, it's not PhD, but if you're interested in say, okay, I want to do my master's, I want to complete with a master's dissertation, or maybe you even have ambitions to do a PhD, right? Maybe some people already know before starting university, hey, I'm aiming for a PhD. Doing these kind of things is highly recommended, because then you get a sense, okay, how does research works? Because coursework is, I don't want to say just learning things, there are kind of project parts, but kind of you learn what is already there, but research is really kind of exploring new topics. So particularly if you kind of aim for a PhD, then doing these kind of undergraduate research topics is highly recommended from my side. Okay, since we have talked a lot of what you have to do, let's talk about what you can do, because I see the question here, what else can I do in computing outside my coursework? So again, the basic answer is, well, you can do whatever you want outside your coursework. But that being said, if you want to be involved with NUS Computing beyond your coursework, we have a whole bunch of student clubs at NUS Computing, where you can be a member. And obviously, all these kind of clubs and organizations are related all around computing. So what we have the NUS Students Computing Club, and these are basically the representatives, right? For example, if any kind of problems with the teaching in general, then students can approach NUS Student Club, and then NUS Students Club come to us. Right, basically the members of the NUS Student Club and Computing Club, these are the voice of the students. Right? If the student want to voice something, they go to this club, and then the club comes to us, and then we discuss this, how we can resolve different issues. But there any kind of other kind of interest group, we have a developers club, so as the name suggests, this is all about building programs, building cool tools. This can not just be software, this can be also hardware, this can be sensors, can be robots, right? All kind of things, anything developer related. We have a special group focusing on games, so we have a games developer group, right? If you're interested in developing computer games, you can be a member of this group. We have FinTech Society, I think it's called, NUS FinTech Society. Basically, how you combine now this whole quant finance, how you analyze data to make better predictions which stock to buy, and these blockchain things, right? These are all these guys. It's not my background, so who knows what they're doing. We have a club, Women in Tech. Basically, here is kind of to encourage or kind of to promote having more female students and voice the opinions of female students to give them a channel. This is Women in Tech. We also have NUS Hackers. Don't let the name confuse you. So hacking is nothing bad intrinsically, right? But basically, all NUS Hackers are all about learning about cybersecurity, improving cybersecurity, hone their skills in this area. Okay, but these are just the clubs within NUS Computing. Of course, there are also many students clubs on the NUS level. And many of those are sports related. So whatever sports you like, climbing, soccer, running, doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure there's a club for it. There are other clubs for kind of different cultures or societies. So I think there's a Japanese club. There are also what I see kind of language or cultural background, even cooking clubs, whatever it may be. I'm pretty sure you find something of your interest in NUS, and not just computing, but also NUS on a wider scale. So whatever you want to do, it's really up to you. Okay, what other questions do we have? Okay, let me pick this because this is also related to admission. I'm doing national service right now. If I apply now, get accepted, is my place guaranteed? Yes. So basically, if you finish school now, you can apply right now for NUS computing, or in NUS in general, not just computing. And if you get accepted, then NUS will ensure and reserve your place until your service is over. Right? And this is actually multiple advantages. Obviously, you have 2 or 3 chances to apply. Right? Maybe right now, this year, you get a reject, but maybe next year you get an accept. So you have 3 chances. This is one advantage. But the other advantage is that if you apply early, say this year, before your NS duties get accepted, this also means that in 2 or 3 years, when you actually take your place, you only pay the school fees from this year. Right? So typically, the school fees, the tuition fees increase year by year a little bit, right? But if you apply now and get accepted, then you only pay the school fees from the year of acceptance, even if you start coming to NUS 2 or 3 years later. So there is a strong, obvious incentive for people who just finished the school and have NS-based national service ahead of time, still apply now. You have 3 chances and potentially save money. So there's nothing to lose here. Of course, there are some kind of terms and conditions applying. This must be full-time service, but I assume this applies to everybody. So by default, just apply as soon as possible, have more chances, and you save some money. Okay, here is our brief questions about the degree programs. What is the difference between computer science degree with specialization in AI as a degree program? Good question, and the basic answer is, of course, the emphasis and the focus, right? I mean, now we have this AI degree program based on the need and popularity of AI, but this doesn't mean that we haven't taught AI before. So we did, of course. We just now kind of consolidated it in its own degree program. So the main difference is that if you take the CS degree with specialization AI, you still get a very good and grounded teaching or education in AI. It's just that the AI degree is a bit more focused. Right? It's a bit more related courses about AI. With the CS degree, you still have a bit more broader perspective, right? Like cybersecurity, or maybe networking or rating systems. So the scope is a bit wider, while AI is a bit more focused. Okay, this is interesting. It's kind of related because of AI, right? I guess. Is the curriculum likely to change over the next 3 to 4 years, and by how much? I mean, it's kind of I would say there are 2 kind of parts of the question. I mean, here you ask about the curriculum. So the curriculum means is the courses you have to take to get your degree, right? That's the curriculum. And yes, there are changes. And typically, every 3 to 5 years, the curriculum gets kind of re-examined to see if any kind of change is needed in terms of how do we adjust the curriculum to kind of match the employees' needs, to match the job market. And obviously, the latest change was just now happened, that we now have this new AI degree and the new business AI systems degree. Right here, you can see it's one of the most major changes that can happen. That we have a new degree. But of course, within a degree, it can happen that we say, okay, now the courses that you should take for the degree might change over time. But this is something that is done every 3 to 5 years. But of course, when we talk about, say, the syllabus within a course, right, this changes almost semester by semester. Right? So, for example, I teach, including this semester, natural language processing. So this means part of large language models. And this means, obviously, we revise the content from last year to this year because things have changed. Right? Computer science, particularly AI, is a quite dynamic field, and we want to stay up to date. Right? So curriculum changes every 3 to 5 years, but the syllabus, the content within a course might change much more frequently. Obviously, we don't throw everything out. We kind of, there's an evolution of the content, not a revolution. Right? So there are changes, but not short term on a big scale. Okay, let me see here. Okay, yeah, I like this question. Because it's related to what we saw previously, does NUS Computing provide any training or preparation before the start of the semester, or how can I prepare myself? Well, on the one hand, one answer is again short. There is no kind of preparation courses or anything that we provide for you to prepare. Because on the one hand, I don't think it's necessarily needed because we don't make assumptions. We start from scratch. But that being said, if you have time, if you feel motivated, of course, you're more welcome to prepare yourself. And in this respect, again, this is kind of my opinion. What you should do is, again, if I could talk to my younger self, I would really say, yeah, pay more attention to algebra, linear algebra, calculus, and statistics, right? Because this is foundation AI. So if you would ask me, yeah, kind of recap these kind of topics. As I mentioned before, if you really never touch a programming language, go through some tutorials, test some mini projects, go through some kind of blogs. There are excellent sources out there, right? And it's not about learning everything. It's just to get kind of warming up, get a sense what to expect, these kind of things. So on this level, yeah, brush up on your school math, go through some kind of tutorials, even some kind of quite basic courses, learn about what is computer science all about, right? Different topics like a little bit about operating systems, what is about networking, data mining, just to get a sense what is the field of computer science all about as some kind of preparation, as some kind of goal. But yet, still, this is not a requirement, right? I mean, even for example, if you have the chance for an internship in some kind of related field, sure, do it. Excellent on your CV. Can only give you experience, but it's not required. Right? Nothing about preparation, but there shouldn't be a requirement for preparation explicitly. Okay, another question about internships. Does NUS Computing help with finding internships? Yes, we do. So we have the School of Computing Office for Industrial Relations, and we also have the Future Ready Graduates office that help finding internships. So what this means is that we have some kind of list of kind of approved companies. We know these companies, and we know that they provide good internships. Obviously, we want to ensure that at your internship, some company doesn't just use you to make coffee, right? We want to make sure that your internship experience is really relevant and useful. So hence, we have this list of approved companies. And obviously, there's this contact with these companies, and they get students, request students every semester from different kind of batches. That being said, you can still self-source your internship. So if you have some kind of favorite company, or you already know somebody, or you've been there, and now you want to do the internship as part of your degree program, you can still do this. The only requirement there is to ensure that either this company is already approved as part of from the school, or if not, get it approved, right? I'm not sure how this process works, but in some sense, the company has to show, yes, if students do an internship here, it's relevant for your degree, right? It's not just making coffee, it's really you do something computer science related, right? It's just kind of a quality control from our side. Okay, here a question from seems motivated student. What is a double degree program? I mean, as the name suggests, a double degree program simply means you graduate get 2 degrees in 2 different disciplines, right? Not just computing, but maybe something else. And what you do is, again, you can apply for it. You say you want to do a double degree program, but in some sense you have to be careful because you have to fulfill the requirements of each degree to get the degree. So it's not that suddenly you have to do less. Hence, typically when people doing it with a double degree, they pick 2 topics or 2 disciplines that are closely related. So, for example, computing and math. So computing and math is a very common double degree because there's a lot of overlap between these requirements. And because there's overlap, this means that you can use courses to double count, right? If, for example, CS degree requires you to take this course, and the master degree requires taking the same course, you can take the course and this counts for both degrees, right? This means the more closely the overlap between these two disciplines, these two degrees are, the more you can double count and kind of save time essentially. Right? So if you do it smartly means taking double degree that's very high overlap, like CS and math, for example, then your study typically extends beyond normal 4 years to maybe 4.5 and 5 years. Right? In contrast, if you pick two disciplines that are widely different, which you can still do, right? Nobody's stopping you, but typically then it might even go to 5 to 6 years, right? Because now you have to do 2 degrees that have almost nothing in common, so you can't use any kind of double counting of courses. So typically when people do double degree, they pick 2 degrees that are closely related to maximize double counting, to minimize the overall studying time. Okay, another question. Let me do this. Yeah, this is quite interesting because this is also something we often get asked. What entrepreneurial opportunities are there in NUS computing? Right? So there are many students that come to us that already know, they want to kind of create a startup or want to create their own company, and it's quite intuitive because, particularly with computing, it kind of almost lends itself for a startup in some sense, because it's really amazing what you can do with just a good idea in a laptop, right? You don't need a big lab, you don't need expensive equipment, right? If you have a good idea and a laptop, you can already do a lot of things, right? So the entry level can be quite low, particularly now with AI and all kind of things, right? So many people already know that they want to go in this direction. So the question here is there some kind of support from NUS? And the answer is indeed there is. So there are actually different kinds of opportunities. On the one hand, there are some dedicated courses that focus on how to kind of navigate this entrepreneurial landscape. So there's 2 courses. I think one is called Principles of Technology and Technology Entrepreneurship, and the other one is Journey of Innovator. These are just common courses that are offered that you can take, and they are taught by experienced entrepreneurs that created one or more startups. So basically, you heard from experts, not just the theory. But there's also something called NUS Furnace. So the NUS Furnace is our incubator at NUS, which basically provides you, like as any incubator, provides you potentially facilities, right? Basically, office space. It provides you with mentorship. It guides you with any kind of application of how to register a company, how to apply for a patent, and potentially there are also financial help. So there are some kind of grants and awards that you can apply purely from NUS, right? So it's not funding from kind of investors or something, but this is for NUS. There's this kind of not big but small seed grants to get your idea going. Right? Even if it doesn't go anywhere, still give it a shot. So there are these opportunities you can exploit in this computing. What question do I like? Oh yeah, because this is maybe not so clear. What is the common curriculum at NUS computing? So maybe to back up a little bit, the basic degrees, to get a degree, requires you to complete 160 units. And as I mentioned, a normal course is typically only 4 units, right? But out of these 160 units, 40 units have to be taken from what is called common curriculum. And on a high level, the common curriculum is kind of courses that are still relevant, but not specific to about technical background computer science, right? This can be data literacy, this can be computer ethics, this can be different kind of cross-disciplinary courses, right? For example, maybe you have courses in sciences, physics, or biology, or chemistry, right? They still can kind of apply the knowledge from computer science, but it's in a different field, right? And the whole purposes of the common curriculum is kind of broaden your scope, right? We don't want that computer science students that they get a degree that are just kind of very narrow-minded, right? We want to kind of enforce that you get a broader picture. So the courses are still relevant, and the courses that we offer, still many of them are electives, which means that we say, okay, here are a bunch of 20 courses, these 5 you have to take, but from the other list of 15 courses, maybe pick 3 or 4, whatever the number is, right? So you have still choice what kind of courses you take. And all these count to your common curriculum. And as I mentioned, they go beyond just hardcore technical knowledge, but kind of the goal is to broaden your horizon, right? Not to be narrow-minded computer scientists. But yeah, more details about common curriculum, again, check the website. Okay, this is regarding international students. Is there quotas for international students as part of the admission process? Yes, there are, but these quotas are not set by NUS. These quotas are set by the Ministry of Education, by MOE. So this is not up to us, computing, and not up to NUS, and I wouldn't even know what the quota is, and obviously it changes every year. So yes, there is a quota, but I don't know the quota, and this is not done by us. Okay, another question about internships. Are NUS computing students required to do internships? I think I mentioned this. Yes, this is required. But again, there are different opportunities. There are 3-month programs. There are 6-month programs. I think most students go for the 6-month internship because it's a complete semester. Right? And these are classic internships. You go to a company, and this is required. Typically, people do it, I think, in the 3rd year. It's very common to do internship in the 3rd year. And again, the motivation is that we want to force you to get already some kind of experience in the real world, right, in the industry, not just the company point of view. And potentially this can already kind of give you some guide what you do in the future. Right? But also kind of to show you how things differ between industry and university. Right? University is kind of more like I wouldn't say idealistic view, but in how does this really then in a pragmatic level work in industry. Right? You want to ensure that you get this experience early on because this is very useful learning experience for your kind of decision what you do in your career. So yes, it's mandatory. I mean, there are exceptions. If you have a certain minimum marks on average, I think you can replace it with research work, right? So if you already show throughout your undergraduate studies that you really more emphasis on research and actually maybe planning to do a master's, planning to do a PhD, then you can replace internship with research topics, research work. Okay, here's a good question more about how the courses work. Are courses at NUS Computing more project-oriented or test-oriented? So test-oriented means more or less exams. There's no clear answer. I mean, the only clear answer is that most courses is a mixture of both, right? So most courses have different kind of assessment components. So assessment components is everything where you get points for, and these points translate to a mark. And most courses have exams and quizzes. And depending, it's really kind of almost up to you to the course coordinator how to do this. It's a bit more fixed for undergraduate courses. So typically plus minus half of all assessments are exams or quizzes, right? So this is more the test-oriented part. I mean, there are courses that may be 100% quizzes and exams. It really depends if it's a theoretical course, this is more like a practical course. It's more like a programming course. It really depends, right? So in general, it's a mixture, but the distribution kind of depends on the topic and the syllabus of the course itself. So, but typically 30 to 60%, 36% is in undergraduate courses is exams or quizzes, and the rest is might be project work, take-home assignments, or the other kind of more project-oriented work. Okay, I think we have time for one or two more questions. Let me pick some interesting ones. Okay, this I saw several times in Discord. With so many students studying computing, won't job market be saturated? I mean, first of all, I have to say I don't know how the job market will look in 3 to 5 years. Right? I think nobody can, because computer science and AI is very fast paced. Right? It's really not obvious how this will develop. But right now, just looking at the numbers, we still see that most of our graduates find immediate positions. We also see that our graduates can command salaries above average. So in this respect, right now we definitely still see demand. When it comes to saturation, again, more like my personal comment is, yes. So if all your goal is to go to the big players like Microsoft, Facebook, Netflix, Amazon, or Google, of course, then the competition will be very high, right? This is maybe where most people want to go. If this is your only perspective, then it can be very competitive. Right? Then you have to really be outstanding to land a job, most likely. I never applied to Google, who knows? But the thing is, as I mentioned, computing is everywhere, right? Every company, banks, insurance companies, logistic companies, the Port of Singapore, any ministries, they all work with data. Everything runs on computer science, right? I always say computer science, it's good if you don't see it, right? So this is why you're not kind of, just if you buy something in the supermarket, that's the checkout, where to place it, the logistics to get here. This is all data driven. This is all computer science. Right? If you're willing to broaden your scope beyond the big players, right, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, then I would fairly confident say there is demand and will be at least demand in the near future. Okay, maybe as a last one, because it's related. It's close related. Will AI make programmers obsolete? Yeah. Again, this is a hot take, so disclaimer, personal opinion, because I don't consider myself a programmer. I program every day, but this just programming, hacking some code doesn't make me a programmer. So this is not an expert opinion. So my take is, I don't think it will make programmers obsolete, definitely not in the near future. So these all large language models are very useful tools, but they're far from perfect. And particularly, you have to be an expert to use it correctly, right? A beginner using LLMs will get codes and will just get bugs over. You have to be an expert to understand, to appreciate what the LLM is giving you, for example. So in this respect, I don't think that it will lower the demand necessarily of programmers, but most likely it will change the perspective and the scope, right? And how do we teach? So right now we have the discussion of the programming courses, how we should adopt the teachings of our programming courses. But as I said, program is not about just writing a programming language, but it's also about computational thinking. This doesn't change, even with AI. So this is the other answer. I don't think it will make it obsolete. It might change the scope. But again, programming is not just typing, it's also this whole computational thinking. This is just still a skill you have to learn, even with these tools. Otherwise, a fool with a tool is still a fool, right? So you have to be an expert. So we're reaching the end of our live stream. So I hope the questions that I picked were useful for most of you. And basically, all that is left from my side is just say thanks for joining. As I mentioned, I hope the answer that I gave you give you a little bit of insights and hope you make you convinced to apply to NUS computing. And as I said, all this administration detail, required documents and cutoffs and requirements, check the websites. I'm not being familiar with all these kind of things. So not only check the website of NUS admission, but also you're very welcome to check our NUS computing website about the different degree programs. Check out, we have a special website which is called join.comp.nuscomputing.nus.sg for all the details for people who want to become interested, right? All the details, what other kind of programs, to give you some kind of example courses, how a degree will look like. And this can be just kind of to gauge you, okay, this sounds intriguing, this is what I want to do. We also have social media channels, right? We update regularly we are on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, as far as I know. So check out there. And yeah, most obviously the whole week is all about open house, but on March 8th, now on Saturday, is the face-to-face open house on campus. And obviously we will be here and I will be here. So I will be on Saturday morning, probably from 9 to 12. So if you want to say hi, if you have other questions to me, just drop by, poke me, and then we can have a chat on Saturday. So yeah, that being said, though, I also want to say thanks to all my colleagues on Discord. I had a look and I saw that many gave you a very elaborate, very good answer. So thanks for their work. And all that's left for you is to say goodbye. Thanks for coming. And as I said, maybe, hopefully, see you on Saturday. Bye.